Come on, Livingston. We gotta go on and on and on. Together we can make it. We gotta go on and on and on. Come on, Livingston.
Knocks it through. Mullen bursting into the box. Josh Mullen.
Together we can make it.
Mullen's ball across, it's turned in! It's Pittman who's got it! Livingston leads!
Road is long.
Now can they get the ball back in? O'Brien.
Lead! And Livingston have the lead!
Man, can score.
If we march together.
The full-time whistle blows and David Hayes celebrates! And the Livingston fans join in exultation.
Come on, Livingston.
Livingston have the lead against Rangers, and they are certainly rising to a few occasions on their return to the top flight in Scotland.
Come on, Livingston. We gotta go.
Hello, you're listening to Talk Livi, the podcast dedicated to West Lothian's finest football team, Livingston Football Club, and proudly sponsored by Starna Apparel. My name's Angus, and today I'm joined by Euan. Euan, I feel like you're a little bit riled up, mate.
I've deliberately left this till Wednesday to see if I've calmed down a little bit after watching us on Saturday, but I've not. You're the only one that comes from this podcast with any positivity now, because I'm not in a position where I can go to most of the women's games on a Sunday, but they actually seem to be getting some results and scoring some goals. I'm coming on here absolute misery guts, and normally I'm the ray of sunshine on this podcast, and I have the positivity, but I can't even bring that to it now. So yeah, once again, apologies to our listeners. It's going to be a bit of a therapy session, I think, having watched us at the weekend. But apart from that, mate, I'm all good. What about yourself?
Yeah, not so bad. Fortunately, I missed the game on Saturday there, so we're kind of at complete polar opposites at this kind of stage. But I'm sure there'll be plenty of things to kind of cover that bases, of course, across the rest of the season as well. But of course, we've got the women's team, as you mentioned there as well. Good couple of results in the last couple of weeks, which is providing a good light for me as well. But as always, you can search for Talk Livi on your preferred podcast streaming site, where you can follow or subscribe so you don't miss an episode. You can also catch all our episodes that we've done up to date on there as well.
We'll start off by discussing our trip to Paisley, as the Lions came out goalless and pointless once again against St Mirren.
Our ladies' side made the short trip to Meadowbank to take on Boroughmuir Thistle. We'll discuss the game which saw the Lionesses secure a point on the road.
And finally, we'll look ahead to our home clash with Ross County, which has the makings of a 6-pointer.
The Lions made the trip to Paisley looking to put a horrible run of results and performances to an end. Unfortunately, a Sean Kelly own goal would prove the difference as Livy lost the game 1-0. You and we have obviously touched on it a little bit just in that wee intro. What did you make of this game?
I mean, it wasn't a game for the purists. I think, you kind of come to expect that a little bit when you come up against St Mirren, and that's not a dig at St Mirren. They're very good, very well drilled side, and they're just good at what they do. Very well organised, don't concede a lot of chances, and that was the case at the weekend there. However, they do offer that threat and potential to give you that ultimate sucker punch, and that's kind of what happened at the weekend to an extent. Looking at the game as a whole, looking at the starting 11 to begin with, so as shot caller matching up. Sorry, window cleaners just came at my side there when I was talking. That's giving me a little bit of a fright. But yeah, to kind of talk about the starting 11, we went with that 3-5-2, matching up the... I'm going to wait until he's done the window because this is the
Good timing there.
Right, he's away. Yeah, first of all, looking at the starting 11, Angus, we kind of spoke about whether we would maybe change our system. However, kind of stuck with this theme of matching up with the opposition and focusing on what they do. And I appreciate we have played a back three most of the season. But Davey, in his post-match used the line again of talking about height and set plays, balls into our box. It seems to be obsession just now with how he's setting our team out to play. And, we went with that back three, putting Joel Nubley as a right wing back. Didn't work, put it that way. And even before the game, me and former host of this podcast, Andrew Semple, commented that Nubley was going to get caught out on that side with that kind of inside channel ball. And that's where the goal does come from. But I think prior to the goal, we were okay. Had a Michael Nottingham header off the crossbar, was probably the best opportunity of the game prior to the goal. But as I kind of mentioned there with that inside channel ball, we'd had maybe 3 or 4 warnings down that side. And it was a matter of time before St Mirren got a clear-cut opportunity from it. We were kind of sweeping up and clearing things after that initial ball when they got into the wide position, be it through Tanser or Kiltie. So we were dealing with the ball into our box, but the goal comes about. In fairness, I've kind of criticised Nubley to an extent, but it's probably Devlin who's at fault for the goal. Kiltie peels off him in behind. And I've got to say, Shamal George has to do better with the strike. It's straight at him, and he's parried it off his body into the 6-yard box. And to be honest, there's not a great deal Sean Kelly can do about it other than turn it into his own net. He's that close to Shamal George when he's parried the ball back out. And then after that, the heads just seemed to completely drop once again. St Mirren could have gone further in front, free header for Johnny Unga, hits the crossbar, and we get in for the second half. And I actually thought we were worse in the second half. My biggest criticism of watching the team just now is we don't have a pattern of play. We don't have it doesn't look like we work on when we have the ball. And at the weekend there, we were just relying on a flick on from Curtis Guthrie to land somewhere. It was essentially the approach. We were just hoping that flick on landed and Bruce Anderson would get in behind, or would create an opportunity. Every time we got the ball, Sean Kelly was just putting the ball, and this isn't a criticism directed particularly at the players, but every time we got the ball, it was just going direct up the pitch, a line ball. There was zero creative spark about us, and it's, if I compare that to St Mirren, that pattern of play they had where they were trying to find that inside channel ball, that's a pattern of play. That's something they've worked on. So you could see that they had a game plan, or they were trying to create overloads in certain areas of the pitch, trying to put us under pressure, try and create opportunities against us. Whilst I feel our game plan just now is so obsessed with trying to stop the opposition and thinking about what the opposition do, rather than having a focus on how can we go and create opportunities against the opposition? How can we cause them problems? We spoke about on the podcast that St Mirren don't have a great deal of pace, at the back. Why aren't we looking to try and create opportunities where you get in behind them, draw them in a little bit, and create opportunities and get space in behind to try and play into their channels? They play a back three as well. Try and get them stretched. We were just played into the palm of their hands. We were just launching balls down their throat into their back three, who are going to win most aerial duels over the course of a game. And then in the second half, Davey commented saying he thought we edged it. I don't think we did. I think St Mirren still created probably the better opportunities in the game. Anderson had one where he did get in behind. He's had a poor touch. Scott Tanser at the other end had a strike that's gone well wide in the end. We get fortunate in that a second own goal's disallowed for an offside in the build-up to it. And then here comes probably my next criticism is the substitutions in the game. So we're 1-0 down. We're chasing the game. You look at St Mirren's substitution. They bring off Ayunga and they put on the boy Alex Grieve. Now, Alex Grieve's got, I don't know how many goals off the bench this season, but he's a different type of threat to Ayunga. He'll run in behind. He'll stretch the game. It's a positive substitution, even at 1-0 up. Our subs were taking Sean Kelly off, who was playing left centre-back, and putting Tom Parks on at left centre-back. Our next substitution is taking Andrew Shinnie off and putting Mo Gary on. Next substitution is taking Scott Pittman off and putting Stephen Kelly on. For me, all our subs are like for like. They're not making any difference to the game. Albeit I do think Stephen Kelly's probably a more creative player. but all our substitutions are just like for like. There's nothing trying to change the game, change the pattern of the game, which suggests that the manager's happy with how the game was going, instead of trying to get back in the game and win it. And we do create a chance late on. Bruce Anderson pulls the ball back for Joel Newbley, and Zach Hemming makes a fantastic save. And this is where I'll probably come for a bit of criticism with regards to our goalkeeper. I was doing a bit of stat finding during the week and looking at the save percentages for Shamal George. And he's down there with the bottom 3 goalkeepers in the league. I think if you look at the last 2 seasons, save percentage last year was 65.2. This season it's 63.3%. Now that's not taking into account maybe the quality of chances that he's faced, but he's down there, I think, with David Marshall and Liam Kelly we were chatting about before recording. If you compare that to our previous goalkeeper in Max Stryjek, now I was very critical of Max, I'll be honest. His save percentages were up at 70.5% in his last season and 72.1% the season before that. Now, my biggest criticism of Max was that you couldn't trust him in terms of he would have a clanger here or there. But my one compliment to Max was he would have games where he would dig you out and he would win you points. My criticism of Shamal George is I don't think he does anything drastically bad, but I also don't think he does enough. I don't think he digs you out of games. And that game at the weekend is a perfect example. St Mirren have that one real clear-cut opportunity. Goalkeeper should do better. Should be saving that. Digging you out a hole. Chance up the other end in stoppage time. We get a sniff at goal. Zach Hemming pulls off a fantastic save. Wins his team points. And that's the difference, I feel, in terms of Shamal George, if you compare him to other goalkeepers in the league, is I don't think he digs you out a hole often enough. I can look back at goalkeepers we've had in fairly recent years. Neil Alexander, Liam Kelly, Sarkic, even Max Stryjek. They dig you out a hole every now and then. They win you points, they get you over the line and win you points. And I don't feel Shamal does enough of that, in my opinion. And I'm not often overly critical of players on the podcast. I tend to try and be very balanced, but it's just something that's been irking me a little bit. And just thinking, how many saves does he make for us? How many times does he dig us out a hole? But I just came away from that game at the weekend there and I just felt so flat, deflated. Once again, I don't know what our approach is, Angus. I really, really don't know what our approach is. We don't have, as I say, an attacking phase of play. If I look back at even last season and the season before that, we used to always try and work opportunities where the fullback would get in behind, like the likes of Nicky Devlin or the likes of James Penrice. We don't even seem to be working those sort of opportunities now. We are so overly focused on what the opposition do, and it's actually becoming quite tedious to watch. Really tedious to watch us just now.
Obviously, I wasn't at the game just there, but by the sounds of things, it just seems to be a repeat of, basically the last kind of 5 performances or so. We must be the easiest team to play right now. We have no intention of winning a game. And as you're saying, we're constantly focusing on trying to stop what the opposition may or may not do. And describing it as tedious, I can only imagine, is the perfect way to sum it up, really, because we're doing nothing. And the simplicity of it is that we're approaching these games and we're not trying to win them, and we're just petrified of doing anything that could maybe be a disadvantage of us, and we just do. In the end, nothing happens. And I don't know if that might seem harsh, and I know players will probably put effort in, but in terms of what we're actually doing with the ball and stuff like that, it's absolutely brutal. As you're saying there, how many lumps up the park do we need? I think that you mentioned a little stat. I'm just going to steal off you right now, that apparently we had, possession, we kept it for like 9 seconds on average or something like that. So you can imagine that's probably win the ball back, work it back to Sean Kelly or work it back to Michael Devlin, and then boom, kick it up the park. I don't know how long it's an airbound counts as possession for us or not, but you can imagine that's probably the kind of the pattern that was mainly happening. I just don't understand how we can be looking at the squad that we have, because, and I think that there's a couple of people who've, like, out with of the club have said this, that we have on paper probably better teams than some of the ones around us, like St Johnstone and everything like that. That's completely pointless, though, if you're not going to do anything with it. I think for what the fifth podcast in a row, you and we're probably going to be talking about how we want to see probably a 4-2-3-1 with Stephen Kelly in the number 10 with, actual wingers on the wide part in those areas and stuff like that. Joel Newbley at right wing back. I mean, for goodness sake, like I can only imagine the groans that came out when you guys were in the stadium and you seen that was coming out. Or once you realised once they started lining up on the pitch that was what we were going for. It's absolutely dreadful. And again, on this podcast, I think we've done a very, very good job of not being overly critical in that. But at this stage, Euan, it is that bad, and it's only going one way if it continues like this. And that isn't us saying that things are needing to like be changed in terms of like who's in charge and stuff like that. It's just that so much more better could be done. The way we're lining up can be so much better. The personnel that we're using in these areas can be so much better. As you're saying, the substitutions where you're just taking off. I mean, how are we 1-0 down to St Mirren and Stephen Kelly's only getting 10 minutes at the end and you're bringing on Tom Parks and Mo Sangari 20 minutes before, who are both not going to do anything to get you in the game? Oh, it's because of height. Like, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And, the kind of criticism that we're getting in that now is justified because we're just so poor. But I don't think there's really too many things from this game or from the past month or so that we can really take as a good thing.
I am one of the manager's biggest supporters, and I've defended him on countless occasions, week on week. And I completely understand, we've got the lowest budget in the league. I completely understand we punch above our weight. I can even understand the defensive frailties and injuries we've had of late as well. But for me, it shouldn't come at the detriment of even trying to go for a game or try and lay a glove on the opposition. Again, I appreciate over the summer that we probably did need to shore up a little bit. We conceded too many goals last year. I completely agree with that. But it seems to come at the absolute detriment of any attacking phase of play. And that's where I just find it so frustrating. Coming back in the car, I was listening to Sports Sound and it was Rory Loy who was covering us at the weekend. And I mentioned this to you as well when I was chatting to you on Saturday night about the game. And Rory Loy probably won't watch us as often as we do, right? And the first thing he said was, the style of play. He spoke about square pegs, round holes. That's somebody coming from the outside and looking at us and coming out with the same comments that we are. You look at Newbley at right wing back. We've got two right wing backs sitting on the bench, and Jamie Brandon and Miles Welsh-Hayes.
Both who've actually showed that they've been capable of playing at this level when they've been, to be honest, chucked in kind of at the deep end. I think Brandon maybe had a poor game against St Johnstone and then maybe one against Rangers as well. Boy, Welch-Hayes has been completely fine though as well. So I think this is the issue as well, Euan, where these players must be looking at come off the bench and being like, what on earth's going on? And if you're an attacking player as well and you're seeing that we're not, we've only scored like 2 goals in open play since the start of September.
One goal from open play in our last 10.
Yeah.
Which was Bruce Anderson against Motherwell.
And then, because even go before that as well, you have that one from Anderson against Ross County. Before that, are you going back to that Hibs game, which seems like a long, long time ago. The players on the bench and that must be looking at it and being like, what on earth is happening that I can't get a sniff in here? Or, we're not rejigging something. Why? What? It's insanity is the way to describe it.
Yeah, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Yes, it's the definition of insanity. But I just feel like the team is being almost strangled a little bit. They're on such a leash, I feel, from deviating from a game plan and showing any sort of attacking flair or creativity. And it's the simple fact is, yes, you can shore up defensively, but if you don't create opportunities in games, if you don't have an intent to go and try and hurt the opposition and lay a glove on them, you're not going to win games of football, regardless of how much you've tightened up at the back. And I kind of used this, talking about the substitution element again. I spoke about it in previous games when we played Dundee. Doherty makes a substitution at half-time at the game at our place. because he can see there's a game there to be won. He goes 2 up top. He changes his shape ever so slightly, and Dundee looked the better side in the second half. You look at the game at Dens Park, didn't have a lot of control in midfield. They bring on somebody who's really good on the ball in Boateng. They get a foothold in the game all of a sudden, that opening 20 minutes. They say, again, it's positive substitutions to make an impact on the game, whilst our substitutions were just, it seemed like we were content in what we were doing, whilst in reality, we hadn't had a foothold in the game. We hadn't kept our foot on the ball. We hadn't created anything.
Shot on target.
Hadn't had a shot on target once again up until stoppage time in that game. And yeah, it's so frustrating watching us and tedious watching us just now. I really want to see us. We've got a massive run of fixtures coming up, 3 home games on the bounce, all games on paper that are winnable. Coming up against Ross County, albeit we'll come on to talk about that. They've got a little bit of a new manager bounce, but they're no unbeatable all of a sudden. Hibs have been a bit hit or miss since the new manager's come in. Don't really know what to expect week on week. Kilmarnock have got a shocking away record still, carried on from last season. They're all games that are winnable, and I think we need to take 6 points as an absolute minimum to try and drag us off the foot of the table, because we're going down a terrible route. We are currently the perfect recipe for relegation, which is don't create chances, don't score goals, and we concede goals. And it's the worst recipe as a football team. And it's I can't imagine any football team that's had that recipe and proved to be successful.
I think the thing that backs that up even further is that you might see a couple of teams who are sitting like at the bottom of a table or that, and you can maybe point to a couple of games and be like, you know what, they're kind of unlucky there. Like, they could have got something or that. Don't think anybody can have any complaints really about the results that we've had in this last month or so.
No, I agree with you. And even if, I tried to give credit for the games at Ross County, the game at St Johnstone, because they were games we probably would have lost last year, especially in the second half of the season. But in reality, the results masked over a very poor, lackluster performance is the reality of it. But at the time, you can take the positive of getting the result when you wouldn't have got it last year. But it's longer than this run of games, this level of performance. Again, if I'm going to delve into stats when I've been pulling them, Angus, I've been doing a bit of homework. Our run of form seems to have coincided with that cup defeat against Inverness last year at the start of February. Now, I'm not taking into account cup games here, just purely based on the league. 28 games played, 5 wins, 6 draws, so 21 points out of a possible 84 available, 17.86% win rate, 18 goals scored, so 0.64 per game, 48 conceded, 1.71 conceded per game. Now, again, I'm absolutely aware that we're up against it season on season, but the stats are there in black and white. Our form currently is the form of a team getting relegated, and that's carried on from last season. And something has to give, something has to change. As I say, I'm fully behind the manager. I fully back the manager. He's come through sticky spells before. Look at the season after COVID. We went on a really poor run at the start of that season. However, like you spoke about there was performances in there where you went, it'll click at some point. It'll eventually click. You could see positives in the performances, whilst just now that you're struggling to even get that. For example, if we played these games and played like we did at Dens Park, I probably wouldn't feel as negative as I do right now, because I came away from that game at Dundee and thought, Ken, what, you've been beaten by an absolute worldie. But the level of performance, we're just not even laying a glove on a team just now, and it's as I say, tedious to watch.
We played Hearts away and we played Rangers in that run. Saying this though, Hearts aren't great. They're not a very exciting team to watch right now. It's not as if we've been 2 games against Rangers, 2 games against Celtic, trip up to Pittodrie, like the toughest kind of proper matches in the league, away to Kilmarnock and stuff like that. We've been turned over comfortably by, a lot of teams that quite simply shouldn't be happening with, which is just, I don't know. I guess if this run of games, if it continues, then it's only going to indicate one thing, and then that's that we are genuinely the worst team in the league and that we'll be going down.
We're delighted to have Strana Apparel as sponsors of Talk Livi. UK based with a Swedish soul, we are Strana. Strana is an independent fashion brand from Scotland who create high quality and stylish attire for on and off the terraces. Inspired by terrace culture, lifestyle and music, all their clothing is designed using quality materials and workmanship to combine the very best style and fit. All of this means you get a premium quality fashion at affordable prices while enjoying a simple and secure service.
As a bonus for Talk Livi listeners, you can get 10% off your order using the code TalkLivi at the checkout. We'll also have some exclusive giveaways during the season, so keep your eyes peeled on our socials for those too. And thanks to Sterner for sponsoring Talk Livi.
Okay, Angus, we're going to have a little spell of positivity on this podcast. It's all on you though, all on you, because unfortunately I wasn't able to make our women's game at the weekend. But yes, the Lionesses made the trip to Meadowbank, former home of the Lions back in the day, to take on Boroughmuir Thistle at the weekend. A second half equaliser from Ashley Elizabeth, but down the ladies a point after finishing one each. Angus, reading your match report, was it a bit of a hard-earned point?
Yeah, very, very much so. I would say maybe a little bit fortunate in that regard. What we've came away with a point, but I think that Boroughmuir, a team who have had quite a bit of a resurgence recently. I think they've had a good couple of results. I believe they beat Gart Cairn the week prior at something like 9-0 or something like that, which has been quite like a shock. So they're definitely a team who have like their tails up at the moment, and it's very clear to see that their game plan is got a couple of pacey wingers and stuff like that they want to get in behind, and I think that's something that actually that causes a lot of problems with our kind of, well, especially in the first half. I think we switched to we usually set up in that kind of like 3-5-2. There was a little slight tweak to that shape where there was like a 3-4-3 kind of thing, and I think that with that, I think the biggest issue that I think that the women's team have had over the last couple of years is sometimes getting on the ball in the middle of the park and kind of playing through there. I think by taking a body out of there, we kind of lost more of that kind of control. Where I go back to the week prior, where we played St Johnstone at home, we had the usual kind of setup, and it was probably one of our best first half performances of the season for sure. We kind of got caught into the game of playing against Boroughmuir and conceding possession and allowing them to try and put that ball over the top again, and it would just kind of go straight back to them. So the first half was quite evident, and that was the way that Boroughmuir were trying to play, especially considering they opened the scoring in the first 10 minutes by doing so. A good ball goes over to the lassie, I think her name was Beth McLeod, and she only scored once in this game. It was a 1-1 draw, but I think she had about 6 chances, which they'll probably ruin themselves for missing so many. But I think Molly had a really good game in goals, but unfortunately on this occasion she was beat into it. And yeah, I think that the first half we kind of struggled to put our own imprint into the game. I think that the only kind of main chance that we had came from a corner kick, which was actually almost turned in by a Boroughmuir defender. But in terms of creating anything from open play, it was all basically from Boroughmuir, and I think they had about 3 chances before half time as well, which if they went into 2-0, if they went into the break 2-0 up, I think it sets up a completely different game. But to be fair to us, I think we came out in that second half and we had made a slight tweak to the formation. We went back to that 3-5-2, back to the kind of usual kind of circumstances, and I think it did make a world of a difference. I think we're a lot tighter. I think we're a lot better with the ball, and we have ended up getting a reward for that. Ashley Elizabeth came off the bench, and it's a good finish to beat Beth Rennie in the goal to make it 1-1. From there, I'd probably say that Boroughmuir probably did still edge it, to be honest with you. And I think that they had a good couple of chances, and I think Molly Reid for me was our player of the match. A lot of kind of crucial saves there, which kind of kept it at 1-1. And I think that on the basis of things, considering how Boroughmuir have been playing recently, it's a good point to have picked up away from home. Yeah, I think that we're missing some personnel as well. I think the likes of Courtney McAvoy would have been a massive boost in that game, especially in the middle of the park. I don't know if that's maybe something that influenced the the formation changed because you're losing maybe your most kind of combative box-to-box midfielder. We're also without Anna Dickoff, who got man of the match, player of the match in the week previously as well, and seems to be on a good bit of form. So, looking at the kind of the personnel, like missing two key players, going away to one of the kind of toughest areas in the league as well, I think again you've got to take a point.
Yeah, I was just about to pick up on the fact that the likes of Courtney McAvoy and Anna Dickoff didn't feature in the game, and they're two players that we've spoke about very highly this season. As you say, Courtney offers that proper box-to-box element as a midfielder, very combative in the middle of the park, but also kind of offers a little bit of a creative spark there as well. And then Anna Dickoff off the back of scoring a superb goal, I think, the week before as well. So, yeah, it's two key players so far this season not featuring. Might have played a part in a slight tweak in shape, but as you say, it's a good quality. It's a quality that the girls had probably in that promotion season last year, where they managed to grind out some results. Maybe not playing at their best at times, but it seems that quality still exists within the team.
Yeah, for sure. They've done well to keep a hold of a point there, because I was really quite impressed with Boroughmuir's kind of attacking prowess. I think that they're quite a direct team, but there's a lot of like good off the ball runs and stuff like that, and they've got a lot of kind of good forward players. And I think it's a testament to like Tash, Jess, and to Bryony for how they kind of kept up with most of those runs for most of the game, and as well as Molly for making out quite a good couple of saves to kind of keep things level. So yeah, I think that's the kind of things that you're looking at these kind of games. We've maybe not been the best in terms of kind of creating chances ourselves, but we have remained resolute. And that on a different day, I mean, you've seen like the previous week that they took a lot of goals off of Gartcairn, and against a different team they might have done that again. And it's a good character from our side to have kept themselves in it, and not to have lost a game that probably other teams in the league will go there and probably struggle with.
Yeah, and you got a wee taste of Meadowbank. What was your thoughts on it?
I was there actually earlier in the season. I took in the Edinburgh City versus Ross County game. I was actually like in the dugout this time. It's not so bad from there, because if you put the dugout way behind like the running track as well, it'd be a bit ridiculous. To be fair, I'll tell you the most annoying thing is that because there's like a big massive running track, Boroughmuir did a very sneaky thing where in the half that they were attacking, there was loads of balls dotted around the pitch and stuff like that. In the area that we were, though, there was nothing to be found. So it's like
home advantage at its finest.
One of those little tricks that some teams kind of do, and kind of just disrupts the play a wee bit. With you get into that final third and you're waiting like 2 minutes because somebody's having to do 100 meters to try and fetch like a ball, basically. But
the irony, there's a running track and somebody's doing 100 meters.
Exactly. There you go. But yeah, I don't know. It seems quite strange. I remember being to Meadowbank a couple of times before and not thinking that it was like too bad. And then they've obviously put all this money into it, and it just seems to be there's no improvement kind of whatsoever. It's just, I don't know. It's just a bit meh. I don't know if have you been yet?
I've not been since the redevelopment. The last time I was there was when Livi were playing Edinburgh City in the League Cup when we were back in League One. I think we won 3-0 there. So
I'm sure you'll have seen plenty of photos and all of it in that, and it's just like it's a fine setup for, I guess, like, I don't know, for a football team to be playing it, for Edinburgh City to have that as their home stadium. It seems a bit strange. It seems like it should just be like a local kind of community kind of thing. But yeah, there'll be. I guess I'll take that over being in like some random muddy park in the side of a road somewhere, which I'm used to playing for the supporters team and stuff like that. So can't be too overly critical of it.
It's got beautiful plastic. That's the main thing, isn't it? But you mentioned them a couple of times there. Boroughmuir had recently just played them. Gartcairn's next up for them on the road.
Yeah, away there. It's actually quite the frustrating thing, Euan, I'm finding with this season is that it seems as if we're playing a game and then it's like a break and then it's like another game and then it's like another 2-week break, because I think it's an international break again. Yeah. Far too many international breaks for both the men and the women's sides. Like, it seems as if every week now that there's one of them, and it does my head in. Not that I dislike the national teams or anything like that, but there's just so many of them. But like, I feel like that's a little bit frustrating that we had that good performance against St Johnstone. We then got to kind of wait a little bit, play Boroughmuir, wait a little bit. So playing Gartcairn, I think it's not this Sunday, but the following Sunday after that. I think that might be the last game before a winter break as well. So it's like there must be a little bit of frustration with the kind of coaching staff in that they're the good kind of sides, the momentum that they're building up and stuff like that. They're not able to really kind of truly build upon that because of these breaks that keep on happening. Also, doesn't help that there seems to be a person on holiday from the team every week as well. These things coincide quite strangely that we're missing about 4 players every time from holidays as well. But yeah, hopefully after the new year, there's maybe a little bit more fluidity to it, and we can really build up a more momentum going into that second half of the season, and maintain that third position, because I think that we're in a good spot at the moment.
Yeah, it's certainly been a decent start to life in SWPL too, and we've also got a wee announcement we put out on Twitter at the start of the week. We do have a new sponsored player with the women's team after Brogan Anderson leaving. So Beth Mackay is the new sponsor from Talk Livi. So best of luck for the remainder of the season, Beth, and hopefully some more goals from the likes of 40 yards. Always does the PR for the podcast well as well.
Yeah, I'll be definitely telling her, like, come on, you've got to really big it up now. Like, you've got to start showing now that we're involved with you in that. But yeah, Beth's a great person and a great player as well. So happy to take on the reins of sponsoring her. So all the best to her, and obviously the rest of the team for the rest of the season. But yeah, I think we're playing away to Gartcairn and Airdrie a couple of weeks from now. I don't know if that interests anybody. We can go and see like a Livingston side that is performing to somewhat of their capabilities and scoring goals and stuff like that. So get along and support the team. Ross County make the trip from the Highlands to West Lothian in what is looking like a relegation 6-pointer. Euan, how are you feeling ahead of this one?
Yeah, well, Ross County seem to have decided to go with the new manager bounce, albeit not a new manager in terms of Ross County circles. I think this is his third stint in charge, an ex-Livingston player as well, and Derek Adams going back up to the Highlands, having left Morecambe. And so far, he's got 4 points from his opening 2 games up in Dingwall. Watched the highlights of the game at the weekend there against Kilmarnock, and I think they seemed pretty unlucky, especially in the first half, not to be going in at least a couple in front. Some kind of last-ditch defending from Kilmarnock kind of kept the score at 0-0, and obviously came out, finished 0-0 in the end. And we were recording Wednesday morning. Last night, Ross County were in action again and managed to score late on and pick up a really impressive 3 points at home St Mirren. So Jordan White, another ex-Livy connection there, getting the winner in that game. So far, so good from Derek Adams coming in up at Ross County. I'll be honest, I was a wee bit surprised that Malcolm Mackay was, let go. I thought he might have at least got until the turn of the year, until the end of the winter break, got this kind of busy run of fixtures in December. But at the same time, I don't know how much the fact that St Johnstone have made a managerial change and they've got a little bit of a bounce since Craig Levine's gone in there. I don't know how much that's impacted the thought process up in Dingwall. But yeah, was chatting to kind of messaging Ross, who does the County Corner podcast, back and forth, just asking for his kind of thoughts since Derek Adams come in, and they ran a poll asking fans if they were happy with the appointment, and 95% came back saying they were delighted with the appointment. So, he's a legend up at Ross County, took him to the Scottish Cup final in 2010. Believe he won the Challenge Cup. He was the manager when they got promoted as well, up into the top flight for the first time. So, he's got a lot of credit in the bank there already and amongst the supporters. So I'm sure he'll be given a little bit of time. But kind of a couple of the things that Ross was talking about is, albeit they've still been playing with a back 3, which I think they've played predominantly most of the season. But I think Derek Adams has kind of said that he maybe doesn't have the players in the building to play the way he wants to play. So that would maybe suggest longer term that he'd probably look at kind of changing their shape going forward. But he likes to be quite direct. I think, one of the quotes that Ross gave me was he doesn't want to see his team making 30 passes in their own half, as that's not what the fans want to see. They want to see the ball getting forward and playing in the right areas. So I can imagine that Ross County will be fairly direct. We all know what Jordan White offers. Simon Murray kind of buzzing in and around him. He's kind of tireless up there, working alongside somebody like Jordan. But they do have creative players in amongst there as well. Jan Danda's given a little bit of license to kind of roam about, get in the pockets, create overloads in the wide areas. And his delivery from dead balls is lethal. And we fell foul of that last year, albeit not dead balls, but his delivery from open play as well. 2 goals up there, tail end of last season, both come from Jan Danda crosses. And, he's somebody that we're going to need to be very wary of. But I think what we do need to be more focused on is what we do to try and hurt Ross County. I'm just going to presume we're going to be playing with a back 3. But I think this game at the weekend, we touched on it there in the intro, is looking like a 6-pointer. It's a game we certainly can't afford to lose the game. We need to come away with something from it. And I think we need to go with the mentality. We need to go on the front foot against Ross County and try and put them under a bit of pressure and try and go for the game a little bit, try and open them up, because I just have this little bit of a fear that the atmosphere could get a little bit toxic, especially if we go behind in the game. And if there isn't that kind of aggressive way in playing from the onset. And granted, I'll take any form of 3 points at this moment in time. I'll take any form of goal if it hits off somebody's arse and finds the roof of the net. I couldn't care less, Angus. But I do feel there needs to be something in the performance to get the home fans on side early doors. And as I say, we need to be aggressive from the get-go. Looking at the personnel that played at the weekend, I don't know what the situation is with Christian Montano. He came off in the game against Rangers, so I'm assuming it looked like a hamstring problem potentially. So don't know if he'll be available for the game, but he would have been somebody I would get back in that side for that kind of direct, aggressive approach that he has. But yeah, I think, as I say, we need to be on the front foot, and we need to be, as I say, aggressive in how we play, aggressive in our press. I think we need to put them under pressure from the get-go. And as I say, we need to get the fans on side, because there's a lot of discontent I can feel in amongst fans when I'm at games, both home and away. And I feel they're just needing a performance to really get behind, and a bit of identity about the way we're playing. And hopefully we can get that on Saturday against Ross County.
Yeah, the thing with the atmosphere and stuff like that as well, if we end up losing this in another turgid display, and it's getting closer to Christmas and stuff like that, the attendances are just going to plummet as well. I mean, you're talking about like the community day as well. They've handed out 2,000 tickets where it's going to be absolutely freezing. People have probably got other things that they can do, other people they can go see. It could end up that we're ending up like with record low attendances or something like that for like the league and that. Like it's genuinely something that could possibly happen, because the football is genuinely that bad that I can't really besmirch anybody for not kind of going along and watching it, especially in these kind of wintry conditions as well. So yeah, we definitely need something to kind of cheer about. Obviously, we'll always back the team as much as we can, but they definitely need to start proving something on the pitch themselves as well to kind of merit it, because it has been that bad recently. But yeah, they're not a team that we should be massively fearful of. However, what we've kind of talked about in this podcast regarding how we're overly concerned with how other teams line up, it's probably going to be the same kind of way. We've kind of talked about the presence of like Jordan White and stuff like that. I know they've got like sort of Baldwin at the back, he can pose like an aerial threat. Are we going to just line up in the same way again because of, height, because of threat of aerial set pieces and stuff like that? The way the things are going, I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. And, I think that's maybe something that could set a precedent for the day. I would just love to see something a little bit different, to have a little bit of a different goal. But yeah, I'm not too sure if that's going to happen at this moment in time.
Yeah, kind of looking at a potential starting 11, kind of other things to take note from the St Mirren game was Michael Nottingham played the base of that back 3. I actually think Michael Nottingham had a pretty good game at the weekend, in fairness to him. I was a bit concerned when he went down at one point when Shamal George kind of went through the back of him, but he managed to get up and complete 90 minutes, which is a big plus for Michael, given the injury problems that that he's had since arriving at the football club. So be interesting to see if we kind of stick with that. However, Davey also passed a comment about Iobali being back in training this week, who I think's been a huge miss for us since he's been out. Was it prior to the Kilmarnock game? I think Io's been out since. So I think he's been a really big miss for us in both boxes, in particular defensively in terms of that physicality. But I do feel like we need to go in with a little bit of an approach. We need to get some flair on the pitch and more of a creative forces on the park. That lends itself to playing guys like Stephen Kelly, Dan Mackay. Again, I think the manager passed a comment that he's going to be out until the new year, which is a bit of a blow because he's a proper out and out wide player for us. But we do still have the likes of Stephen Bradley there, who has not been given much of a sniff after a kind of injury in pre-season. But again, I really like Stephen as a player. I think he offers a little bit of creative spark, a little bit of flair.
He was across county last season as well, that he took advantage of a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Up in Dingwall, managed to create Bruce Anderson's first goal in that game, getting to the byline and cutting the ball back. So I'd like to see us try and play with a little bit more creativity on the park and try and set the team up that we're not overthinking what we're doing. Play players in a position that's natural to them. Play players in a role that's natural to them, instead of being so focused on what the opposition are doing and kind of trying to, as we mentioned earlier, fitting square pegs in round holes and trying to do a job for 90 minutes. Let's focus on how we can hurt Ross County. And I think a little bit of that is probably defensively. I don't think, the likes of Baldwin, as an example, there's mistakes in a player like him. I think Ross kind of touched on the lad James Brown, who plays right wing back for them. He's very good getting up and down the pitch in terms of getting forward. He loves the bomb forward. You're going to have space to exploit him behind him in terms of wide area on the left-hand side. So there's definitely opportunities to cause them a lot of problems. And is that maybe a way, looking at that James Brown situation, is that a way that you could play Newbley and almost allowing him a little bit of free license to hang out there and have a little bit of space to run, bit of space to kind of drive at them and create opportunities? Who knows? But I don't hold much hope for us tweaking our system in terms of going away from a back three. But I feel like we need to try and get a system that suits our players and the personnel that we've got. And that would involve probably changing the shape ever so slightly. But what about yourself? What are you wanting to see?
Yeah, basically that. I want to see wingers. It's like, I don't want to see the back five because it's not working at this moment. The personnel who's in there it's not clicking. There's no point in us having 5 defensive options if it's not going to click, if it's not going to do us any good. May as well try and look at another way that we can hurt teams. And I've always advocated for wingers to be on this in this team and stuff like that, because it's where I feel like we've played the best football over the last couple of years, and it's got the best out of our better players like Joel Newplay, and then having like Anderson up front who can thrive off of service from certain players like on the wings and that. But yeah, I guess we'll see what happens with the team. I think that everybody's kind of in unison with wanting to see a wee shake up to the back line and stuff like that. Go back to like a 4-2-3-1 kind of thing, or a 4-3-3, however you want to kind of call it. But yeah, just need a little bit of something. Just need an ounce of like creativity as well. Like, you need to get like somebody like Stephen Kelly in the team who you're at least kind of confident, or even move like Andrew Shinney up to like number 10 or something like that. We just need something, because it sounds ridiculous just saying something, but we are literally doing nothing recently. So something is what I will take at this moment in time. But let's hope it's not a too cold one for us on Saturday to be watching the game. I guess I'll come to you for a wee score prediction, Euan.
1-0 Ross County.
I was going to go the same. I think that we've had the same score predictions for like the last wee while. So I'm going to alter it a little bit. I'm going to go 2-0 Ross County.
I'd love to be more positive, and I normally try and be a bit more positive, but I just feel we're ingrained in a way of playing just now, and I can't see the change coming, that positive change coming to impact how we're playing. So that's why I'm so negative going into the game in terms of a prediction. But here's hoping the team can respond and get us out this kind of rut that we're in just now, and let's get some more points on the board because they're desperately needed at this moment in time. That's it for this week's therapy session of Talk Livi. We appreciate you tuning in every week, and we'd love to hear your feedback. As always, you can leave us a review on iTunes or drop us a message on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram.
As Euan said, we're on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, so simply search Talk Livi to find us. You'll find all the links to our weekly episodes on there as well, and any shares or likes are always appreciated. All our episodes are available on all the usual podcast streaming sites, including iTunes and Spotify. We're also on YouTube, and we'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. If none of those options suit you, all you have to do is head to our website, talklivipodcast.libsyn.com, where you'll find every single episode we've done over the last few years.
That's it for this week, and genuinely, thank you for still continuing to tune in and listen to our absolute misery over the last 6 weeks or so. Let's hope for a much better week following the Lothian's finest football team.
West Lothian is our battle cry. This is the place from which we hail. Livingston, oh Livingston, it's up to Amberville. Livingston, 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 oh Livingston. We love it when you score. Livingston, oh Livingston, the Amberville Lions roar. Livingston, oh Livingston, we realize our vision. Livingston, oh Livingston, into the Premier